Hi there, Russell.
Hello, how are you?
Good. I'm so glad to see you this morning. Thanks for
You
getting
as
up,
well.
joining us. Um,
Happy Happy Tuesday,
yeah,
Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah, right.
Yeah,
Whatever day this is.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good to see you, and I'm excited about our topic today, which is going to be marketing and AI, and is it a friend or foe, or is it something in between? Is it a frenemy, maybe?
Yeah, it's definitely changing the landscape of everything nowadays.
Absolutely. That's the unmistakable the fact, I think, is that it's definitely shifting a lot of conversations, and there's a lot of fears, and then there's also a lot of testing. So
Like it
anyway,
or not, scared or not, we must embrace it because it's here to stay.
you're right. I think yeah, fear is the mind killer. I'll use a Dune quote. Yeah, no, we have to like sort of lean in and figure out what makes sense for us. So anyway, so yeah, today let's talk, and we'll dive in a second, but we're gonna just look at any latest trends, anything that we've seen AI specifically as it transformed the marketing landscape, the processes, internal, external. So um, thank you again for stepping in and for jumping in and participating. And I'd love to hear if you might have some insight into maybe a tip number one or something about, what you see with AI specifically. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for letting me be here to join today, Christina. Tip number one: AI supercharges efficiency, but don't forget the human touch. I'm going to briefly talk about some of my favorite AI tools out here and some that I'd like to highlight. Of course, the biggest one that everybody knows about is ChatGPT, and Google recently changed Bard to Gemini. Those kind of similar. I like to use them interchangeably because sometimes you get a better result from one with another and vice versa. But I use them to generate copy for emails, website copy, blog articles, outlines for presentations, competitive research, things that it knows about my competitors, generate keyword list, questions for interviewing guests, like for articles, blog posts, or videos. I've had it write question lists for me to ask people in videos that I've done. Also, industry trends. And however, a human editor should always refine and fact check before posting.
yeah,
Always. It's
that's for
never,
sure.
yeah, it's never, you're never going to get the input in final form. You really need a human editor. Google has said in the past, it doesn't care if you use AI to generate the copy, but it has to have human involvement.
Hmm.
The
Yeah, and
ultimate,
I always see that with like if you have, just imagine having a as a marketing director, if you have a marketing coordinator or an intern or someone who's, early in the stages and may ask the right questions, but may not always know about how information can be skewed. Yeah, it's like, to me, it's that equivalent.
absolutely. Remember, Google's ultimate goal is getting the best information to its readers. So if you use AI to generate your first draft, as long as a human humanizes it, then they're okay with
Hmm.
it. Other uses, I use ChatGPT and Gemini for what videos should I shoot for my YouTube channel? It's giving me a long list of great ideas. Well, what shots should I get for B-roll? It gave me a great list of shots for B-roll footage. What topics should I write blog articles about? What websites should I reach out to for link building, or to advertise on, or give me some good topic clusters for SEO for my company and my industry. I've also used it to learn best practices for just-in-time learning of a new skill. For example, they wanted me to shoot professional headshots for people here at our office, and I have a nice camera because I shoot YouTube videos, but I've never done photography in my life. So I ask Chat GPT and Gemini for best practices. How do I take headshots and make them look professional? And gave me some really good tips on positioning the subjects, lighting, background, camera settings, and such. So you can get a lot of good ideas from Chat GPT and Gemini.
Hmm.
Next tool I'd like to talk about, it's called Firefly's AI Note Taker. When you have Zoom calls, Teams calls, it hops on the call like it's another person, but it'll say Firefly's AI Note Taker. Basically, it transcribes and summarizes what was said in the call and indexes them for future reference. So it's a really powerful tool for that.
I haven't used Fireflies, that one yet. I know there's a few out there. I've used Fathom for Zoom calls, and even the summary of the call has gotten so much better over the last few months even. I was able to forward a summary of a call to the web developer as a summary of like what the needs were for this specific project, for a web development project. And I mean, honestly, that was one of the first. I always liked those, the Zoom note takers, but that was the first one I saw how it really shortened a conversation path.
One of these can be white labeled, and I'm not sure exactly which one they use, but I have monthly calls with a vendor, and there's an attendee called Company Name Note Taker.
Gotcha.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
AI for videos. Wistia has a really cool article, how to create an AI generated video. And it's a 3 parts, and they do it really quickly using AI. And the end result is phenomenal. First of all, they use ChatGPT to generate a script. Mm-hmm. One of my YouTube videos, the script was generated by ChatGPT, and I just refined it. But that's their first step. Step 2, they use a tool called Synthesia. What it does is it has up to 140 AI avatars, like people. You paste in the script, and these seemingly humans talk to the camera. They look like real people, and their mouths move perfectly to the words. They sound a little robotic, so I think there's a little I think there's a little opportunity for that part to get better, but they look real, and their mouths match the words. And you can create a video quickly by just pasting in a script. And what's interesting in this article, he made an AI video of himself. I mean, an AI avatar. Okay. So this guy, he reads a few words and looks at the camera, and they learn his movements and his look and his voice. So it looks and sounds just like this guy in this article, but it's not him.
I like, so early mornings. So I told you I'm not a biggest fan of that. So maybe I can. If I got extra bags under my eyes, the avatar can just, sort of smooth over that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do some webinars with Synthesia. And I tried one. They let you make one video for free. So I went and did their free trial and typed in a quick mock-up script, and it was kind of cool. It looked really real, and it said exactly what I wrote in the text box. And then for the finishing touches, they use a tool called Descript. Basically, that one auto-generates subtitles, and you type in, you describe the B-roll footage you want, and it puts in the B-roll clips as well. So that's pretty good.
I know YouTube, I think, will auto-generate captions too, if I'm not mistaken. I think you're shaking your head. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it would do some of that. But maybe it's got some of the similar tools. Cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Next tool, Christina, you and I both use HubSpot a lot, and HubSpot has a lot of AI features built right into it.
Right.
It's integrated with HubSpot, so you can auto-generate page titles and descriptions, meta descriptions for SEOs. It can write emails for you. It can write your website content, blogs, social posts. You can tell it exactly which tone of voice you want to use, and a lot of more cool stuff. It makes it super easy.
Yeah. I have to say with HubSpot, I've used, like, there's pieces of it. It is integrated, so it's very nice. But there's almost like, for me, it's like I see a line or a sentence or a paragraph, and I'm like, I need to switch this up a little bit. Like, that's how I use it. So with them specifically, I still start with something really original that may have, some other support from outlines and things. But once I'm in there, like whether it's a social or email, like swapping it. Email, I'm much more comfortable using AI across the board because there's no SEO issues or concerns there. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's good. And finally, LinkedIn has a lot of AI features built into it. So I work for a recruiting firm, and we use LinkedIn to find candidates. LinkedIn's AI features, you can create a post, you can write and respond to messages. You can use it to enhance your own resume. It tells you, there's a button if you have LinkedIn Pro. It says, am I a good fit for this job? And you click it, it analyzes your profile and the job description, and
Right.
it tells you how good of a fit you are. It'll write job descriptions for you. Yeah, it's really cool tool. AI is popping up everywhere nowadays. When you write prompts, it's real important to understand what kind of information and how much you can input. For example, if you're asking for ideas about a certain topic that speaks to a specific audience, you can also tell it to limit results to an X number of characters or bullet points or pages. I mean, the more specific you are, the better results you're going to get. You can tell it to use a friendly and persuasive language, or a more laid back or a more salesy, aggressive tone. I mean, you can be real specific to engage the audience. The more you input, the more specific you get, the better results.
And hopefully we get a chance to talk a little more about prompts, because I find that, the hardest thing for me sometimes, especially when we were fully remote in COVID, and as different remote teams exist, or even smaller teams within companies, like that think tank, the ideation, the brainstorm stuff, it's really hard to have it happen. Like even structured on calls, it can be really difficult. But, when I ask AI, like, what are the top problems and marketers are challenged with? I can even go deeper, like in these industries or in this size company, like it just sometimes starts my brain thinking in that direction. And it's really big, because it can be a lonely space in this, we'll just say in this world as a whole. Like, so it's like just the bouncing and the jumping into things, because I can get lost in the blank page, right? That's just like really tough for me. So, and then thank you, Nancy, for the comment. I think the human analysis is so big. But I really do. I'm optimistic enough to think that hopefully we can make us smaller with, the questions and how we think about things, but maybe we have a broader palette to look at at the beginning. So.
Agreed. Yeah, I like it mostly for idea generation, just when you have a blank page to kind of give you some ideas and directions to start with.
Yeah.
Pros and cons. It analyzes customer data to identify preferences, pain points, buying behaviors. It helps you better target your communications, get better engagement and conversion rates. Cons, I would say there has been instances of possible bias, older information, and again, I think its biggest limitation is that we're just so early in this space. It still has a lot of room to improve. For example, I've tried to generate some AI images. A lot of them aren't good at all. The hands get really wonky. And as I mentioned, the AI avatars talking sound a little robotic. They're going to get better over time. They're starting to do AI video. They have a long way to go with that, although some of the examples I've seen are really good.
Awesome. Good. That was a good one. And I think, we kind of covered a little bit of tip 2, which is using AI for like the early stage content research. So I think I might move a little bit ahead, because, so Nancy in the comments talked about, this is really good. I hadn't thought about like the pricing, especially as an agency. It's like I come for advertising, where we used to bill for advertising and media, right? A percentage on media, huge dollars. And when that started to dry away, if an agency didn't know how to charge for their time or understand the strategy and that relationship and retainers there, they really dropped fast. They couldn't figure out fast enough how to adjust. But I think that, like, how do you bill? Like when I think of a team and the quality, like we have, the person, the strategy, like AI is a thing, right? And it does have some costs, but as it brings our costs down, what does that mean? Are we just sort of killing the space? Like suddenly, not only AI is helping us, but honestly, it's just making us work harder and longer. Like it's just the expectations are unreasonable. So, I mean, there's a lot of ethical, moral conversations about it. But Nancy, I really like that thought about, the price being down, because the bottom line, AI at this point, in my opinion, actually with anything is, the strategy, and how you, like, somebody says, you've heard stories where somebody bills X amount of dollars for something they handled really fast. Well, they say, well, X amount of money was from the action, and then the 20 years of experience it took me to know how to do exactly what I was supposed to do. So it's
mechanics do the same thing.
yeah, it's really it's kind of tricky. So anyway, I that's tip number 2. I just want to sort of hit on that, like for our processes specifically. Like I like to find out what is top of mind for my target audience. Like what is the pain points? What do I see out there? Then I look at, what we're talking about, how we might respond to that problem. And then what I also get ideas from is, like, for us, lead magnets, like downloadable content. What can we create to solve those problems? So I consider it a tool to let us do more quality. And so that's why I really, do appreciate the process, because if I was looking in the metrics, and the overwhelm of data is like a big drain for marketers, and how do you, decipher it and filter it out? So I was like, oh, okay, we need to develop a quick tool for this. It helped define an ebook that we created, and then it gave me some ideas and some other things to post about. So, I just like the creative brainstorm process for that.
It can help you build quality at scale as well.
That's a good point. Mm-hmm. That's a really good point. So anyway, not to jump over it, but I thought we could move ahead to tip number 3. So tip number 2 is like AI for early stage content research. So tip number 3 is a really interesting one I don't get too involved with, but let me hear your thoughts on this one, Russell.
Tip number 3, tread with caution. There are a lot of mixed feelings about this space. There was a speaker at an SIA staffing conference a few months ago. He said, AI is not going to take your job. A person using AI is going to take your job.
I see that. Yep.
Yeah. So like I said early on, like it or not, it's here to stay. So we might as well embrace it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Do you want to, did you hear like the sort of the editing ethics? Like I've heard TV shows, commercials, photo shoots, magazines. Like, I mean, there's this creative space that I don't live in as much, but it's a big deal when AI is used to sub out a designer or something like that. It's a lot of implications.
Yes. Under Armour, a sportswear company, had a lot of controversy online after it shared an Instagram ad that featured a boxer, Anthony Joshua. He was created with the help of AI. Mm-hmm. Additionally, YouTube recently added into their publishing platform some questions that ask if you used AI to generate.
I saw that. Yep, I just saw that this week, actually.
Yeah, they want you to at least let them know. I think if they find out that you did, they might hurt your rankings or something.
I think TikTok and YouTube are the ones I've seen have done it recently. They want to ask that and confirm sources, whether it's voiceover, like any component of it. So, yeah. I'm glad. I mean, how do you protect the creatives? It sounds like a really, uncomfortable place at this point, so.
Yeah, it's like the internet was 30 years ago. People know it's here, but they don't fully understand it, and they don't know where it's headed, where it's going, what can all be possible 10, 15, 20 years from now. We're really on the forefront of it.
Yeah.
But a lot of good uses now, even.
For sure.
It can analyze vast amounts of marketing data and uncover hidden platforms and trends that allow for really good data driven decisions.
Mhm.
Performance, budget allocation, and content optimization. It's really good for many things. But those not sure about it, those feelings are definitely
Mhm.
understandable.
Mhm. Yep, and Nancy just added too that like brands like Dove are pledging to not use AI generated models in their ads. And I actually this kind of goes along with like sustainability or like the brands of certain products and like you know just like if you're your footprint, your eco footprint like that. This is a thing that people will kind of get their heart behind at points because we all care about people, right, who are working and have these livelihoods. So I think that that makes a lot of sense, and I think it's going to be part of um, the brand as we look at what is your position on it and how do you use it. Um, but I think that I really we use it, but I as a small business, it's mostly part of that ideation process and how do I sort of look at things. Now, with that said, like you mentioned, the bias, it's a little that scares me a little bit because, and that's why I'm hoping the variety of things being used might help. But like I've heard of bias in healthcare, like if we all look at the white male reaction to something, like how do they react to this drug? That would be super dangerous, right? We're taking that into account for other things. So I would say the same thing's true for across the board is we want to make sure that it's as, it represents the population. I don't know. And honestly, I'm not a tech person at that level, but I don't know how that happens, but making sure the data is I don't know, comprehensive or the database. I'm not sure. So.
Another consideration is make sure that AI does not get you in trouble for plagiarism. It
Mm-hmm.
uses a lot of existing data and it's learning. How do
Mm-hmm.
you know for sure it's not copying and pasting something
Right.
that it's
Right.
handing you for you to share as your own? So you might want to copy and paste some of your work into Google just to check
Yeah.
before publishing.
Yeah, that's probably increased too. Is the plagiarism detectors, the original quality, the content quality, that kind of stuff, those kind of checkers. Because, yeah, you have to do it now. Honestly, we stopped taking any guest posts years ago because it was the process of checking that was too cumbersome versus the payoff of having any of that stuff. So, yeah, that's a good one, and I think that you know that's important, you know, but I think it's easier to just say, okay, you know, who are we talking to? What do we have to say? Here's sort of some messaging examples. Now let's make it ours. Let's make sure it makes sense to us. Because, it's just, there's a lot of junk out there. So I still fall true to Google. Like you mentioned, the Google desire is Google wants people to find helpful, good information, right? They want them to find an answer. So I want to be an answer for somebody, for a director of marketing trying to figure out which metrics to use for campaigns, whatever it is, I want to be as true to the goal as possible. So, um, you know,
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of great opportunities ahead.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we want to cover here. I really think the first part of the tools, and we'll put some links in the chat. I want to put some links to these tools, especially some of the ones that people may not be using commonly, like Firefly. That one I haven't used, but I have heard of it. There's an Adobe one. There's also Copilot, which is a LinkedIn one. I'm sorry, a PowerPoint one, which I haven't used. But as a salesperson, I would imagine that could be really nice to take something that I have that looks just really kind of hideous and make it into something, that at least is digestible visually for the day-to-day stuff. So
Here's a comment from Jane about iPhones making everyone a photographer now.
uh-huh.
Um, so I have the new Samsung S24 Ultra, and it has
Hmm.
some really cool AI features in it that make me suddenly a photographer. It has like a really powerful zoom. You can zoom in on something really, really, really far away.
Hmm.
Um, and usually things get really grainy when you do that, but it uses AI to figure out what pixels should be there. And I
Right.
can zoom up something like downtown Dallas is out my window, but it's probably 15 miles away. I
Hmm.
can zoom in and make it crystal clear, like super clear, like I'm like 50 feet away from the
It's
buildings. It
wild.
just fills in the pixels.
Yeah.
Other things in editing, I can hold down a person or an object in the picture and drag them somewhere else,
Hmm.
and it'll just move that person and automatically fill in the gap in the photo from
Yep.
removing them.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a lot of cool features. After filming, you can after shooting a video, I can make it slow mo afterwards. Usually, you would need more frames to make a slow
Oh
mo
yeah, that's
video,
nice. Hmm.
but it figures out what should be in between these two frames and fills that in retroactively. There's a lot of
Oh, that's
cool,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of space on my phone taken up from different things. I like I was into the slow motion video. Like I get into like I was into the boomerang for a long time. So like the boomerang feature. I have a Google Pixel, but it obviously has some similar features for that. I like I was at my brother's wedding last year and I took a picture of them walking down the thing in the hotel and uh mine has like the magic eraser where it just erases the people in the background like that. And I know that's an AI tool. And I was like, oh, and I just sent it and it was cool because it was like they were the only ones in the lobby. So
Yeah,
it's weird when you think about it because you know what? It sort of happened like that, but it didn't, you know. I mean, it's
it's
an
good for
interesting take on
getting
reality.
someone's ex out of a photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go through all of my photo. That's like a what is it, Black Mirror episode or something. Remove this person from my life. A little
Also,
scary.
we've used a tool that has an AI robot. It integrates with our CRM, and it
Hmm.
would go through and it would call people in our CRM, and this robot is calling people at scale. Because with our small team, there's a limit to how many people
Hmm.
in our CRM we can actually call. This robot would just go through and swipe and call everyone
Yeah.
with our sales info, and then send us a summary. And if they're a good lead, then a human could
Oh
follow
wow,
up.
that's wild. I know they've
Yeah,
done that for where they go until they get someone and then it connects to someone instantly. But yeah, I guess it's a preliminary. It's almost like a database cleanup a tool, which is a major issue for companies across the board. This
you
like
give it a script.
databases of 10,000 people that's like old and messy and the fields are yuck. Like that's a big problem. So I could see for just database cleanup as one thing, plus actually actionable sales tools too. So
It's good stuff.
yeah. So anyway, as a quick little wrap up, I mean, you know, it's this is a conversation. There's a lot of debate. It's a powerful tool. It's a powerful tool for marketers. It's not a replacement for human creativity or strategic thinking, but it's a great, you know, think tank starter, a conversation back and forth. So I really think, you know, I agree with the quote you shared that, you know, the future really lies in the leveraging of the efficiency and insight, and you know, building the trust. But you really have to be as open and honest and maintain that human element in it. Because honestly, there's no point of robots talking to robots on social media, right? Like I can see that as a future, and it's just going to be broken, right? It's not going to have any value. But and then a closing thought from Nancy too is like video analysis. That's nice. Like that sounds like along the lines of stuff you're talking about, Russell, where you can actually use, you know, after you take a video, AI can help you sort of, you know, focus
Split
in,
it apart into
slow
multiple
motion, things
reels.
like that. So I
They
really
can
do like
even
that kind of stuff.
they can add subtitles for
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good things.
Yeah, so cool. Well, I'll post some links after here. And then, Russell, if you have any too, just add them if you have like tools that you like to share or articles. If you have that article you mentioned, we could post those in the comments and share this out afterwards. So, Thank you so much again. I mean, really appreciate you hopping on. I know you have a busy schedule, but it's great to talk to, a marketing director, like in the mix of things, and sort of agency client kind of conversation about this. This is great.
Thank you for having me on. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Take care. Bye, everyone.